What's up, fam? I'm Rob Chapman. I'd like to talk to you all about my friend Eddie Kramer, how I had the opportunity to meet and work with Eddie, and the things that he taught me. He really put me under his wing and taught me all sorts of unbelievable, useful, valuable, practical, applicable knowledge. And I'm going to share a little bit of it with you. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please subscribe, like, share for the almighty algorithm to find Rob Chapman again. Here I am. You know, sometimes the stars align, trees shift and twitch, and the universe does this kind of weird magic thing that makes something completely unusual happen. In this instance, it was my band, which was called The Black Hand, many years ago, band from Wiltshire. Our drummer got a job working for EMI and then for Universal Records, became the marketing manager of Universal Records, and Eddie Kramer was working with them on the Jimi Hendrix catalogue. Eddie is a phenomenal, amongst many other things, photographer, and he had an art exhibition in central London. So my drummer Ian said, "Hey Eddie, since you're going to be in London, you know, doing this art exhibition, how would you feel about jumping into Abbey Road and recording The Black Hand for a couple of days? You know, since you're in the area anyway, it's Abbey Road, it will be fun." And Eddie said, "Well, send me the music. Let me have a little listen, you know." And it was Ian's band from the record label, so Eddie kind of wanted to help out a bit. He took a listen and he said, "I really like it. Love the guitar playing. Let's do it." So again, this is all to do with who you know, not what you know, because it was the label working with Ian. We got Abbey Road for a discount, jumped in with Eddie Kramer, and I just was pinching myself. If you don't know who Eddie Kramer is, he is one of the world's most revered engineers, producers. He is a phenomena in the industry. He has worked with Jimi Hendrix, Rolling Stones, Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Steve Vai, all sorts of people. You know, he just has worked with everybody, and man, he is a reservoir of knowledge. Being around him, you sort of vicariously exist in the time space he's gone through, and you sort of osmotically, via osmosis, absorb something that I can't really put my finger on, but it's special. So imagine this. I'm in my 20s, been playing guitar for quite a long time. I walk into Abbey Road. I smell the air. I think about the people who've been there before. I walk into the bar area, get a beer. I walk into the console room, and it's, you know, beautiful, absolutely stunning. You know, having a little tour. Ian shows us where everything is. There's a fridge full of drinks and snacks, which is very exciting. We start getting set up, and then Eddie walks in, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Eddie Kramer. This guy recorded the music that I love the most, you know. And he's so friendly and so warm, and he's excited to be back at Abbey Road, and he's chatting, and, you know, I shake his hand, and he's like, you know, you're the guitar player. This is great. This is going to be really fun. And I just, you know, the hairs all over the back of my neck and my arms are pinging, you know. I've got a giant orange stack and then I've got a tiny Terror. A couple of PRS guitars. This is when I was the Orange Amps clinician, and I was endorsed by PRS guitars through their English distributor. So he took a look at the guitars. He went, all right, they look good. He took a look at the amps. He went, we use that little one. And I went, really? And he went, yeah, I think we can do some special stuff with that little one.
I worked with an Olympic in the 60s.
Yeah.
I think that's rather hilarious. Fucking great. That first verse was brilliant.
So we recorded the tracks. We had great fun doing the drums. I learned a lot about rolling up carpet to make a tube and placing a mic at the end for the kick drum, which was phenomenal. Backing off, he's really into backing off microphones to get that little bit of air to get the room. I mean, otherwise you're just capturing a speaker. Here's the speaker. You don't really want the speaker. You want the speaker plus the magic. So there was a lot of that going on. And he did an interesting thing where he would play with phase. He would create intentional phase to play with after the fact. Everything we did was cut to tape, which was quite expensive, but beautiful sounding. Anyway, it comes time to put down my rhythm guitar tracks. Got Tiny Terror, and he just goes full volume, half the gain, lot of the treble, really bright, really loud, through a 412, and I'm playing, and he goes, yeah, it sounds good, but it's just not. There's something missing. I want you to stand next to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, normally I record, in a live room next to the amp. I want to get the feedback and the interaction with the cab. Well, no, come to me. So I stood next to Eddie. And he's like, yeah, the problem is you stood wrong. And I'm like, what? Is this a joke? Are you kidding me? He's like, no. Bend your legs. You got to go floppy. And I'm like, okay. He goes, now look, imagine you're Jimi Hendrix. I went, I'm not Jimi Hendrix. He goes, no, but imagine you're Jimi Hendrix. How would he stand? And I went relaxed. And I bent my legs a little bit. And he went, now, put your breathing lower. And I went, okay. And he went, yeah, Jimmy didn't breathe up here. He breathed down here. He was connected to the planet. And I'm like, I'm learning something here. And I dropped my breathing. I'd done a bit of this in my martial arts training. And goddamn, my rhythm playing was completely different. What he did is he took away that heady, giddy, excited, I'm up here thing. And he sunk everything down and rooted it. And my rhythm playing was nuts on. It felt brilliant. And he said, look, the way you stand, the way that you breathe is the way you are and is reflected in your playing. So it's very important the way that you are as a person when you're recording yourself. And while I'm playing, he was mixing live and tweaking stuff, and it was just amazing. Anyway, I learned a lot from that experience. The band all had to go off and do things, and Eddie kept me back, and he said, look, I want to show you some stuff that we can do. And he was teaching me on the desk all these things he would do, and then he got me to do some overdubs. And we started talking, and we became friends, and quickly we came up with some ideas for some projects we could work on together, and we ended up pitching a bunch of ideas to businesses, some of which didn't happen, should happen, didn't, I don't know. Anyway, years later, I mean, we stayed in touch the whole time, I met him at the NAMM show, always had coffees, always had lunches. Years later, I had the opportunity to work with Eddie again. I'd just written a song called Breath. And Breath was really the first time I had written something that I would sing on as the singer. I'd never sung before. In the Black Hand, I was just a guitar player. And I hadn't had any lessons. I had no formal training. I didn't want to work with people who I felt at the time, this isn't reflective of all vocalists, but some of the vocalists I had worked with were drug-fueled ego heads. And I have no interest in that at all. I love food, banter, playing PlayStation games, my kids, writing music, performing music. I'm about music and food. That's basically me. So wrote this song called Breath, flew over to North Hollywood and worked with Eddie and his assistant Chandler at the time in a really nice, bit smaller studio, but perfectly formed. And Eddie had some... Am I allowed to talk about this? I think I am. Yeah, whatever. He had some developmental prototype equipment from Marshall. He said, Rob, I want you to try this amp. It's special. It's from Marshall. It's a head. We've got the Jimi Hendrix stack. I went, what? Jimmy's? He went, yeah. So giant stack in the live room. And then he's got me into this prototype Marshall head.
Can we try
try a metal tone with this just to see what that sounds like if I double track it, yeah?
Go ahead.
There it is.
Now listen, I have asked Marshall, and I've never had a definitive answer as to what it was. I've never found out what it was. I have some hunches and some clues, but this thing was amazing. They called it the metal head. It wasn't a metal head. It just had a lot of gain if you needed it. It had a beautiful structure, 800, reminiscent of an 800. I believe that it had noise gate built in. It could have been a prototype Kerry King, but I don't know. I'll never know. Anyway, plugged in. It was just phenomenal. I mean, it sounded incredible. One of the guys that worked for Marshall turned up, told us all about the amp, was interested in Chapman guitars because I had my first ever manufactured ML1. If you're watching this, me for the first time, I own a guitar company called Chapman Guitars, and our first guitar was the ML1.
It's very nice and lovely. No, I can do that.
What's that, yin yang?
That's infinity, so
I know.
pots, cattle. Oh, really?
He looks like a proud mother, doesn't he?
So I'm playing my guitar through this Marshall prototype amplifier through a Hendrix, 2 4x12s, super duper duper loud. Had all sorts of fun trying to get the drums to line up on the grid, because I don't think the drummer at the time had worked to a click, or he was a little bit loosey-goosey. So we finished recording all of the guitar, mixed all the bass and drums that were recorded back in England. And Eddie said, right, it's time to sing. Let's see what you got. And I'm like, okay, oh my God. Got me ready, got me mic'd up, got me headphones on, and I'm warming up a little bit. And Eddie said, listen, I know you're nervous. It doesn't matter that you don't know what you're doing. It matters how you feel about what you're doing. And he was so right. And he said, I don't care whether you can sing or not. I care whether you feel or not. So let's put feel into this track. And I gave it everything. And I gave it everything 8 times in a row. And he went, okay, we've got it. Just these 2 pieces, push harder, ease back, blah, blah, blah. And we got the vocal takes. And that was a really important lesson, because people don't listen to musicians with the ear of a musician normally. They don't judge the vocalist on their technique unless they're a singer. They judge it on how it makes them feel. And a lot of that is decided by how the performer felt, So I think that was one of the most valuable lessons. The other thing is, when he tweaked my headphone mix, he didn't make it so loud that I couldn't hear myself and my skull resonance. If you're a singer, you'll know what I'm talking about here. It was important for him that I could hear the resonance in my skull, because a lot of what you hear isn't just what comes through your ears. It's a lot more than just the ears. Anyway, wrapped up, brilliant. Next time I meet Eddie, I'm working with a guy called Lexi Leon from a band at the time called Eternal Descent. Hey, Lexi. And I have to tell you this because it's such a historical event. Got invited to the studio. I was working with Lexi on this Eternal Descent project at the time. And Eddie was mixing the Woodstock tapes. He was remastering the original Woodstock tapes the same day that President Obama was being inaugurated.
That's the rhythm guitar. It's all blended into one. Because I have a duplicate of another channel, and I reassigned EQ to it that is accentuating what the lead guitar is doing.
Oh, so you're going to pull out the lead that way.
Yes. The original drum track sounds like this. That's it.
My portion of the show, but give me a taste of a little something we call rock and soul music.
And I'm listening to all the like Jimi and all these bands being mixed on tape, and I'm like, this is just like, what a crazy experience while I'm making tea for Eddie Kramer in the kitchen. And then we ordered Chinese takeout, and watching him with tiny movements tweak the settings and fading in and just manually doing it, tiny touches, a hair here and then a big movement, the dynamic range he was creating within it. It was truly inspiring. But the biggest lesson I got from Eddie Kramer, actually the two biggest lessons I got from Eddie Kramer: be nice to every single person you meet in the industry, because you have no idea how small the industry is and you have no idea what they're going through at the time. And the other thing is listening to yourself. Eddie forced me to listen to myself. Now that sounds like such a stupid statement. Of course you listen to yourself, but you'll be really surprised how much more you can listen to yourself while you play or while you sing. It's more about a shift of awareness away from the shapes, the scale, into the sound. And when you make that shift into how does it sound, suddenly things sound very different, and you start thinking, I might need less gain, less reverb, and a bit more mid. I hope that's been useful. Have a great day. Love you guys. Chappers out.